Thanks so much to all of you for talking with me, even though our countries are locked in a trade war at the moment.
That's right. Yeah.
So
Intense.
intense. But I suppose I was just thinking about the title of the film, Universal Language, and of course, one of your themes, I guess, is the way that borders don't really matter. There's a commonality.
Well, that's right. Look at us here on Zoom, David. I mean, it's beautiful, right? I mean, here we are, we're talking, we're, interconnecting. We're still capable of this in spite of everything.
That's good. That's good news. Um, so a few things. I mean, when I first heard the concept of the film, and I think it's probably true for a lot of people, there just seemed to be something so absurd about the idea of conflating or combining somehow Winnipeg cinema and Quebecois and Iranian film. Um, the more I've seen the film now that I've seen it a few times, it feels so natural. But how did it come about?
Well, that's right. My typical lounge act line that I schlep out is that Iranian cinema emerges out of 1,000 years of poetry, and Canadian cinema emerges out of 50 years of discount furniture commercials. And there is something absurd about putting those two things together. But that is how we're alive, in fact.
Hmm.
We're all alive at the same time
Hmm.
for a very short period of time, and that's really improbable. It's really improbable that we're all connected and we're all here together at once. And it's also amazing, and it's complicated, and it's beautiful. And it's also, I mean, in the movie, it's a little bit surreal to put these together. But we feel actually that that's reality, that our lives are actually like that, that despite the containers and the trade wars and the international border walls and this kind of thing that we are erecting every day, our lives as we actually live them as actual humans, above and beyond politics, the economy, social media, etc., are actually very fluid, and
Hmm.
we do intersect, we do interconnect, we are interwoven. And this is how we made our movie. We come from spaces that are far apart, but we made this thing which is a composite expression of our own friendship,
Yeah.
And life actually still is like that. We are capable of that in spite of everything.
Absolutely. So the natural question then is how this connection was formed between the three of you. And I understood or I heard that the film has been really in gestation for a very long time. So how did you all meet and then how did this develop?
Yeah, we met how friends would meet. I mean,
Hmm.
I met Sylvain, our producer, at a dinner, and we talked about cinema in Iran, and he got really excited. He took out a script. He said, "I just came from a meeting with this filmmaker from Winnipeg who loves Iranian cinema and wants to make a film in Winnipeg that's inspired by Iranian cinema. I want you guys to meet." So we had dinner. I invited them for dinner, and that's how we met. And the conversation started then. And Matthew came into our community, met Ila and everybody else. And so it's been a long conversation for over a decade. Yeah, it was after pandemic that we really were like, okay, we're going to try to make this. And that's when we all came together and kind of, yeah, made it. And it's still continuing today. It hasn't stopped since. Yeah.
And so, it seems like the kind of film to me where you are like sharing increasingly sort of outlandish ideas and but at the same time I know that a lot of the film is based on your real lives, you know. I mean, of course, Pirouz and Matt, you're in the film, but I think there's an autobiographical side to it. So could you talk about that?
Hila was a bus driver.
Oh, really? No, no. Okay. I would
But I
believe
dreamed about it. But I dreamed about it. Yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, but autobiography, maybe your part most
Yeah.
more than me and Pirouz.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, the three plots. I mean, what Sylvain read and brought to Pirouz was sort of a little treatment, and that we ended up, of course, developing together very intensely. But the composite parts are still kind of related to my family history. The story of the two sisters that's comes from my grandmother's life during the Depression. That was kind of based on a story she told me. The story of Masoud, the tour guide who Pirouz plays, is that kind of comes from my father. He was a lifelong devotee of and really enthusiastic about Winnipeg history in all of its banality and absurdity. He was really committed, lifelong Winnipeg resident. And then the third story, that was maybe the last thing we wrote, really, and that I mean, we did sort of the most intense creative period of the movie was during the pandemic. And so my autobiographical element was sort of very close to what was happening in my life around the time we were writing. And yeah, so that was the kind of concept of the movie was really to share on a really deep level. And I really, sort of went into a zone where, I mean, almost to the point of oversharing, almost to the point of being uncomfortable, or really to the point of being uncomfortable. But that was sort of part of the design. The idea was to, I mean, we were following just a very sincere impulse, and that's the thing. We didn't really think about any kind of external view of the film as we were making it. We were just, being as sincere as we could.
And it seemed to evolve organically, but the film does combine. I mean, when you think of Winnipeg cinema, I guess because you first think of Guy Madden's films, but you think of a kind of absurdism, and then there's so much of Iranian cinema in this too. So I guess if you could talk about how that evolved, and I guess Matthew, you spent time living in Iran.
Well, not really. I mean, I spent 3 months in Iran
Okay.
as a young person. I loved Iranian cinema, and I had this very naive idea that I could study filmmaking there. And that did not work out. The film school I dreamed about going to, it was already closed by the time I arrived. But I met a lot of, really great people, and it was kind of a sort of formative experience in my young life, and it kind of set me on this path to dialoguing with Iranian cinema. But
And a lot of the experiences you had there became part of the film also.
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
The fucking suitcase,
Yeah,
walnuts.
the walnuts. Yeah. I did meet this lady in Giroft who gave me an enormous quantity of walnuts, like more than I could carry, even a huge amount. It must have been, I don't know, 10 kilos or something. And anyway, she said, please give these to your mother. I know she's very worried about you. So yeah, I don't know. This sort of became the basis for our, as we chatted about it, talked about it.
And I guess I would love to hear just more about how the style of the film came about, and that includes both the physical world of the film that was created, which is this like combination of real locations, sort of unvarnished reality, and then fanciful inventions, most notably, I guess the famous Tim Hortons that you created. So could you talk just about how the kind of look and world you created emerged?
So
Yeah, actually,
we were all very inspired by 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝙍𝙀.
Yeah.
So she was a real tuning fork.
Thank you. No, I mean, sometimes I'm thinking about this movie and talk with Matthew and Pirouz, and it was like a dream. It was like a dream that we all hallucinated together, kind of. So, and with everyone, with children, with all our cast and crew, friends, everybody. And I think all the sets, all the parts in the cities, Winnipeg and Montreal, everything we shooted was kind of like was very artistic at the same time, and very I can give you an example, like when me and Pirouz 2 years ago went to Winnipeg for shooting, we were surprised by the beige and the brutalic architecture, and it was very similar to some old Iranian buildings in Iran and in Tehran. So apparently Matthew, when 20 years ago he went to Iran, he had the same experience. Then I was thinking, look, our one person in Winnipeg and the other person from Iran, look how they could feel the similarity of the two cities, but not just about city vibe and the architecture, even the very close mindset, because we're friends like now 10 years, but let's say it's not about just because we are friends. We met Matthew's friend in Winnipeg. He met a lot of our Iranian friends, and it was really a common thing between all of us together. Like, let's say about dark humor, about joking around, even about very dark, very profound emotions, let's say. So we really felt each other very closely, and we felt very. I don't know how to say it, but very close at the first sight. Let's say you say love at the first
Yeah, love at first sight. Yeah.
yeah, but this is closeness at the first sight. So yeah, and then we continue, and the seed became from our friendship, and yeah, so it went more and more.
Yeah, we found a lot of common things between Winnipeg and Iran. Actually, the more, I mean, now even we are finding more. Like, for example, we've shown the film all over the world. I mean, of course, there's Iranian diaspora everywhere, but there's also at least one Winnipegger in every screening we've been in. So Winnipeg also has this diaspora that, you know, we both have escaped brutalism in different ways, but you know, one weather, one regime. It's kind of like, you know, we found each other, and we've shared a very deep thing that yeah.
It is also really improbable what connects. Like there's this one bench in the movie, and there's this very beloved, he's a real person. Winnipeg's beloved real estate agent, Rod Peeler. He's also has a side hustle as a Rod Stewart impersonator, and you can sort of see he sees himself. And I was doing the storyboard one night, and I thought, it'd be really great to have a Rod Peeler bench. These are very well known in Winnipeg. They're all over the city, and it says Rod Peeler, your Winnipeg real estate agent. I never sleep. That's his big catchphrase. I never sleep.
Great.
So I just spontaneously emailed him to see if he would, let me use one of his benches in the movie, not realizing it was 3 o'clock in the morning. And he answered immediately. Yes, anything you need. And I thought that was going to be, a thing that would just, spark little narcotic synapses in the heads of Winnipeggers. I mean, it's not anything. The scene itself does not depend on knowing who that is, or it's not about him, but he's just there. And weirdly, we've sort of discovered that the film has like that the Rod Peeler bench actually gets a huge reaction in a lot of audiences. Like there's usually one or two people in the crowd who are just like on the floor shrieking. Like it's so this crazy bench. Anyway, so it's one of those things. It's you never know how these things are going to connect. And the movie is sort of about that. It is about these it is, in a lot of ways, the movie's about a longing for connection. And as we've taken it out in the world, we've discovered how it connects, often in very improbable ways. And that's sort of the most beautiful for us,
Just one last question about the film is the ending. The ending really takes on a different tone. I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about. I don't know, I guess how it came about and what you were thinking, what you were trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, that was always going to be kind of, we always knew there was going to be a musical cue there. But I mean, that was sort of the thing. It was kind of the last thing we wrote, I would say. Bringing everything together. We knew that was going to happen. We knew there was going to be some music. But we didn't, exactly know what it was. And then Bahram Nabatian, who plays the turkey monger, he came to set and he said, I had this idea that I should sing for the turkeys. And we were like, yes, let's do it. So really the only kind of intervention was to change the lights. We thought if he's going to sing for the turkeys, it's night, obviously. But other than that, we just sort of let him go. We turned on the camera and he sang for like a whole reel of film. So like 10 minutes. And we didn't know what he was going to sing. He didn't tell us beforehand. And he sang a few things. He sang some Hafez, he sang some Sadi. And then when he was done, he called cut. And we were all kind of amazed, but we didn't really know in that moment how it was. We hadn't written that scene. It was not scripted at all. So we didn't know how it was going to fit into the movie. But the one Sadi section, it somehow, and this was not in his mind at all. He came with this idea and he was not going to, it was not like, I was thinking the end, nothing like this, nothing. He just wanted to share himself with us. That's all. He wanted to share. He loves to sing. He loves this poetry. He wanted to share it. That's all. And it somehow cosmically, in a very improbable and amazing way, connected so perfectly with the feelings of the last moment of the movie. And now we can't imagine the movie without that moment. It's one of those things. So it's one of those things where, when people are really expressing themselves personally through the prism of what we're making together, these little discoveries happen. And so it's one of those things, the end of the film is very much a composite in a lot of ways, and it's all of our feelings kind of finding their synthesis.
And isn't the title, the Farsi title of the film, doesn't that relate to Turkey?
That's right.
Yeah.
So what is that for the American audience?
Yeah, it would translate song into Song of the Turkey or Turkey's Song, right? Yeah, it was kind of inspired by Bahram, the story you just heard, and
Right.
how it happened and how it really brought everything together. So it was, yeah.
Yeah, and we were thinking at the end that Song of a Turkey can be a universal language.
Well, I just
Sorry
as a
about the turkeys, if you want to.
These
I
all,
mean,
yeah.
the reason, I mean, people ask us often why turkeys, and I mean, of course, Turkey visually is such a interesting character, and we really enjoyed shooting with this one particular turkey. Yeah, I mean, we had this conversation. There's a story that Matthew shared with me that I really loved and kind of inspired us. That Benjamin Franklin, he wanted to have the wild turkey as the national bird of United States, as he thought the bald eagle was a bird of low morale that robbed the nest of other birds, and he thought that with turkey you get community, you get togetherness, and that's kind of what inspired us on the turkeys, and
Yeah, so
kind of reflects the times also.
that's right.
Yeah.
The turkey is a real inspiration.
Yeah.
It can serve as a real emblem for us in our current era, right?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I hope our country could be more like the turkey than the bald eagle going forward. Well, congratulations on all the success the film has had. I love the fact that it was Canada's entry for the Academy Awards. A film that is so much about the idea of like not having separate countries. But
Yeah.
anyhow, I just wish you the best of luck with the U.S.
Yeah, we
release.
invite you to join us, please.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, David. Lovely to chat with you. Thank you
You
so much.
too. You too. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye-bye.